This is Team 1, Project 2, Suspiro. Suspiro is a first-person game where you explore an abstract space in the form or shape of a maze. In this short, immersive 3D game with 2D cutscenes, players navigate a two-path maze, interacting with three main characters and making choices that determine their eternal destiny. Through concise dialogues, quotes of historical figures, and some narrative clues, players uncover truths and solve puzzles, all set against a low-volume musical backdrop. Ultimately, it is the player who decides their own truth. Unfortunately for the protagonist, the labyrinth holds a pivotal choice between conquering an angelic being or a Baphomet entity. This decision, whether to embrace reincarnation or oblivion, will ultimately determine the protagonist's fate in the cycle of life and death. I would say the successes for the game were that we have a final product that we're proud of to upload to our portfolio or any app players can play. There are always things that we could improve, but so far we are thinking on making updates and keep the game the same.
Hello, my name is Richard. I was a game developer for Teams 2 project Skybound Odyssey, and I'm here to talk about the project, the success, the drawbacks that we had. Overall, the whole team was satisfied with the project. We really had a lot of fun time developing the game. The game itself is a survival, explore, adventure game that takes place in the Sky Islands. The good part of this game is that you have a really good immersion with the sound, the art, the movements, everything is blended pretty well together. Originally, we kind of overscoped the game a little bit. We really wanted to have a really good survival game, multiplayer and all that, but we kind of had to underscope the game a little bit because we had less time than the first project. We had not too much trouble with the gameplay ability system. After we created a good technical design with this, everyone could make gameplay abilities, effects, and cues pretty much easily. And it was really easy after that to have the workflow. It was pretty streamlined and smooth. And we are pretty much really happy with the result that we had.
Team 3's project was Magical Blunder, a top-down single-player roguelite where you defeat 20 waves of enemies in order to escape the ancient forest you've accidentally teleported yourself to. Along the way, you're able to pick up runes, which gives a small boost to your magical power along with a short-range teleportation skill to encourage you to traverse the map and kite the enemies, since they won't only shoot projectiles at you, but also rush at you. My role in our teams was managing the project along with creating 3D and 2D assets for it. Our biggest achievement as a team was delivering a fully playable game since we faced some big challenges throughout the journey, while also having some first-time experiences. Like I've never made trees and foliage before, this required a different way to approach for games compared to hard surfaces, and I'd never made a human character either, which is another entirely different matter I wasn't ready for. We have come a long way, but I'm sure we'll all continue to grow and do even more amazing things later down the road of our lives.
Lucky Lucy is multiplayer turn-based strategy game with some elements of randomness. The game happens in demonic chess bar, where creatures from underground gather to pass the time with game of chances. Players have to play against each other and try to outwit the opponent with counting the odds and using items in the game. In the center of the game, there are blood tokens that can give or take life for the player or grant items to be used. Each turn, the number of specific token pool is shown on the top of the screen, so the player knows what are the odds. Items can help to freeze the opposing demon or protect yourself for the next turn. Choose the tokens wisely and make sure your dynamite fuse will not burn off. Various tooltips and effects will help you to navigate the game. See you at Lucky Lucy's.
Cyberrunner: The Fall of Inferno is a first-person single-player action story game. You play as a highly trained and skilled cyber ninja. Equipped with a deadly blade, your task is to escape a secret robot facility and eliminate the robots in there, who have been taken over by an AI entity. Use your skills like dashing, sliding, and other abilities to your advantage to defeat the robots and escape the facility. Developing the game was a lot of fun, but very stressful at the same time. The initial idea was completely different from the finished product. It turned from a rogue, wave-like hack-and-slash game to an action story game. We had a clear vision and received positive feedback for our first idea. By the end of Milestone 1, we made good progress in regards to the mechanics and gameplay, but encountered our first issues with the AI that we wanted to implement in the game. Those struggles continued to Milestone 2, with us having to cut many features like wall running, blocking, and a boss fight, as well as reduce the scope and completely redesign the ending of the game. Regarding the art and sound of the game, it was more straightforward, with the artist knowing the exact style and vision. At the end, the team was content with the finished product, but could sadly not let people outside the team play test the game, with the proper AI being implemented very late into the development cycle. However, one thing to take away from this experience is that game development is a difficult process, and not everything will work out. Idea is one thing, execution is another.
We are Team 6, and our game is Binary Bound. It's a co-op roguelite hack-and-slash game set in a cyberpunk world. Our main challenge was coordinating a big group and making the cooperation in-game meaningful to the player. Another challenge was making the game understandable by itself. We have a storyline, however it's difficult to implement it with the gameplay. Another problem that stems from that is creating a fun cycle of play, but through extensive playtesting and balances, we feel we've achieved that. One of our core successes is creating a nice prototype. The multiplayer is working, and we feel that players will enjoy the game.
Mirage is a single-player survival horror game. After waking up in a cell and realizing the place you're in is seemingly completely empty, the goal becomes to find your way out. The place must be abandoned for a reason. Maybe on the way you can find out what that reason is. Our team size doubled since the previous project, so the scope was larger too. Unfortunately, that came back to bite us because not everyone was available as much as we had hoped, which meant we had to tone it down if we were going to finish it on time. While we managed to finish all the levels as much as we needed, we had to reduce many things meant to be in it. We meant to include at least 3 AI characters, but only got 2 of them working in the end. While still a little rough around the edges, all the core mechanics work as intended, and the game is playable from start to finish. One thing we failed to take into account is that the objectives aren't as clear, and the game isn't as easy for those who didn't work on the game this whole time. Many players ended up getting stuck in places we thought would be pretty obvious. Regardless of that, reception from our instructors and fellow students was very positive, some even suggesting that after a few more months the game would even be worth selling. We believe it has that potential too, so we want to keep working on it. Now that we have no deadlines, there's much we can add upon it.
Our game, Tomb Guard: Rise of the Pharaoh, is a third-person action shooter. Initially it was supposed to be a first-person, but after a long discussion with the team, we opted for third-person view. The player takes the role of a warrior who is supposed to restore peace in the pyramid. Armed with different weapons, the player battles against mummies and ancient gods. The game features exploring around the ruins and the pyramid to find weapons, ammo, and meds. But be careful, there are mummies lurking and traps hidden everywhere. This project was a challenge in itself. There were many aspects which we had no clue about and had to figure out among ourselves, like proper AI, shooting aspects, what a cool boss looks like, and many more. During development, we were hindered by everyday life, but in the end, the team came together strongly, and hats off to all of them.
Team 9's Project 2 Koala Combat is multiplayer, turn-based, third-person tactical shooter game where koala warriors will have a fiery and explosive battle in 2 vs 2 or 3 vs 3 fashion in Australian zoos, Koala Island. We as a Team 9 were very happy with what we achieved, where we basically created the full game mechanics for our prototype, as the whole gameplay was mostly finalized. If we want to update the game, there will be a lot of replacing to do, as over half of the art assets were created for the simplicity's sake, to have more things on the world map to impact the game feel. On the mechanics, there are still some fixing to do and make things feel more seamless, and maybe add more explosive effects on the weapon system for the abilities. Overall, the game idea seemed hard for others, with such a small time frame to work on. We as Team 9 did it, and we are proud of it.